What's good? What's good? What's good, family? Welcome to the hottest broadcast on your social media page. Yes, it's that time again for the Black and the Bold podcast. Here you will hear thought provoking, gut wrenching, and yes, sometimes even tear jerking content that you just can't get enough of. This is your boy. I am the Bold, but I can't get started without starting with my dog, my brother from another mother, Mr. Black. How you doing this evening, sir?
What's going on, man? Y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir. We hear you loud and clear.
Cool. All right. Well, let's kick it off for the week. This is Dwayne Johnson, otherwise known as Black on this side of the platform. Dwayne Johnson from Valdosta, Georgia. Graduated from Lowndes High School, graduated from Georgia Tech, graduated from University of Maryland. All of that by way of getting the engineering degree and a management degree, only to get out of engineering and start real estate investing. So that now my wife and I, we are owners of our own property management company here locally in Valdosta, Bridge Building Education and Investments. And we are proud parents of three wonderful kids, elementary school, middle school, and high school also. So it's basically, busy schedule for us, man. Track season is now in flow. So we're all excited about how that's going this year. And other than that, man, it's just busy. What's going on your side of the world, bro?
Hey, brother. Same old, my man. We're trying to start 2022 off on the right foot. I have been really busy, trying to make sure everything is good on my end. But yo, this is Edward Mack, and I'm the bold one. I'm the loud one. I'm the gaudy one. I'm the smart mouth one, but I'm the good looking one too. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Valdosta, Georgia native. I see your face down there, sis. Dude. Let me have my moment. Let me have my moment in my ambiance. Yep. But Valdosta native, Lowndes High grad, UCF grad, got an opportunity to definitely complete the process. Got the bachelor's of healthcare administration, master's of public administration. Jumped into the real world and have two wonderful children, 18 and 11-year-old son and daughter, and we're moving in the right direction of 2022 now for sure, knowing that we have launched our E3 Legacy Group, which is now investments in education. I'm finalizing that this week. Also finalizing some other things. So yeah, man, we're trying to be real entrepreneurs this year. No more talking, but we walking this thing, bro. So that's where we are. Of course, tonight we have two wonderful, strong, intelligent young black men who looking good, coming from either perspective of the melanation, you know what I'm saying? But we did get a chance to connect with another beautiful young lady who we've decided to adopt as our sister. Beautiful, how you doing this evening? How you doing in 2022 since you finally decided that you're going to be with us? Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry. How you doing this evening, sis?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. I'm loving 2022. 2022 has been great so far. In some areas, great. In other areas, life happens. But I've been good. I've been good. Yeah. So, just excited to be a part of the conversation again. And I am woo-sawing all negative energy and pettiness away. So I'm putting my mojo tonight. So no pettiness tonight. But I am Suzette Michelle, native of Valdosta. Yeah, this is my home, Georgia Peach. Love it. All my family is here. So yeah, I'm not gonna do the usual, intro. I'm just gonna be a part of the conversation tonight. We got a lot to jump into. So I'm ready. I'm ready. I have prepared myself mentally for this conversation. So I'm ready.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a nice one. It's gonna be nice and intense. We're not gonna pull any punches tonight. We're gonna make sure that we have the conversation, and we're gonna say some stuff, and it's gonna snatch some people. But that's good though, because we need to have these kind of conversations. So
Well,
thank everybody who's logged on with us so far. If you are with us at this very moment, we implore you to go ahead and like and share, hit the notification bell, because we're here every Tuesday night with some hot fire talking about some great topics of conversation, for sure. So everybody's logged on, like, share, subscribe. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook, if you would please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure that you start a watch party, share, copy the link. Make sure you drop it on all platforms so we can make sure that we can have a great conversation with a great group of individuals. Before we get started, brother, you got anything you want to add to the conversation?
Finding my mute button there. I was clicking away there. Where we at now? We trying to get into something, or we just trying to give a shout out? Because I can give a shout out.
Yeah, man, we're gonna get some shout outs for those
Okay, all right. That's where we are. Okay.
Yeah, that's where we at.
Sure. Have you pressed go on the pedal yet?
No, not yet, bro. Not yet.
Okay.
Almost.
No, okay. Well, no, I don't have much other than just give a shout out to Brother Rashawn Berry, and I believe one of our first that chimed in that was at least brave and bold enough. He's present. So definitely, as you chime in and you hear what's going on, announce yourself to the family so we can recognize you, because that's part of the show. That's the ingredient to the show right there, that flavor. And when
Yes,
you
sir.
you out there, be a part of the conversation.
Let's just be a part of the conversation, please, man. Please, sir. Please. I'm trying to get on my Facebook, but I told you I got that dial up sometime, bro. I don't know what's going on, bro. But every now and then that thing get to making noises behind the screen. Yeah. Jesus, what is going on here?
Don't tell us to dial up.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's wrong with Xfinity down here, but it is what it is. At least it ain't MediaCom. I tell you what. Behind the screen. see what I mean? See what I mean? Yeah. They just pop up on you. There we go. All right. So I'm ready when you are, my brother. Ready when you are. Good to see you again, brother Rashawn. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Let's make sure we get the likes and shares up as we get ready to jump into this conversation. I'm ready, my friend.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead. No problem at all. Just we press and go then. All right. So the first thing we want to just jump in on, I think it was kind of good timing now, Tuesday. Yesterday, for those that follow the broadcast on YouTube that Brandon Marshall leads for I Am Athlete. I keep up with that. And the latest guest that they had on the show was Antonio Brown, the star receiver out of the Steelers camp, then transferred over to the Buccaneers recently to their camp, has been showing out. And then most recently, though, a surprise event to where something was said on the sideline. Get into that a little bit. But then you just saw, as a spectator, him run across the field towards the end zone with, the strapped shoulder pads all off and just running, no t-shirt, just basically saying, peace out, I'm done. So that sort of hit the fan as it was narrated just like that. And so you're like, what happened to Antonio Brown? And a lot of stuff, through the media was just like, is it mental? Was there something going on? And so, nah. And so it wasn't none of that. He spoke with Brandon Marshall about it. And as a newbie, he really looked to Brandon Marshall as more of the OG. And so, with that, Brandon Marshall had some advice to give him. And then Antonio Brown had more so just the fact is that what happened was on the sideline, even though he was dealing with a ligament issue, the coach wanted to still have him play. Coach was like, you need to get in. And so basically what he was saying, he was protecting his health and physical health. And the coach basically told him, get out of here, man. Get out of here. And so not pleased with what the player was told to do, the player also responded to what the coach told him to do. And so it was like, fine, basically, I'm done. Y'all can have this. So that's basically what happened. And Antonio Brown just explained that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not mentally, insane, or there's no mental health issue. It's like, the matter is that you're trying to protect your brain also. The fact is that I was hurt, wasn't my best. And bro, he said it to another athlete, and he said, when you're hurt or you have something nagging, you don't have the most positive attitude because nothing's working right. So it's a little frustrating knowing that you're a star on the field but can't produce like you want to. So he was already frustrated with that. And then you get into it with a coach, that doesn't make it any better.
Right.
that pretty much a lot of it is summed up with that. Brandon Marshall was just more a little bit more diplomatic about it. That what he was trying to impose on him on Antonio Brown was just that uh, save that for the locker room though. He was like basically, hey, if it was me, I'm not saying that it wouldn't have gone down, but I would not have left the field like that. He said basically what would have happened was that, the coach say, get the out of here. Brandon Marshall be like, look, hey, who do you think you're talking to? You gonna see me in this locker room when we get in at halftime. He's like, you got to know as a star, you got about 20 cameras on you. At one time, or 4 cameras on you at one time, but 20 cameras on the field. And so it's like, you got to know that there's a camera on you at all times. And right now, they don't need to see what you're saying, but that coach gonna get that work when we get back to the locker room. So
true.
Just a difference of opinion. But we saw him run off, and that probably spoiled. I don't know if it spoiled his career, but it is what it is. Any thoughts on that, bro, sis?
I'm gonna let Suzette go because I know she got she got a lot of expertise she's gonna share with us about her sport. So I'm changing. I'm rolling over that new leaf this year.
Really, I got a lot of expertise. I don't have a lot of expertise with tolerating someone insulting me, so I'm not sure that my would be
not like
different.
It's a normal procedure.
I mean, I'm sure that's difficult, and sometimes you have had enough. On one of his interviews, he said that wasn't the only thing that was said. It was some other insults that was followed with that as well. Something along the line of, "I didn't really want you on my team anyway." Yes. So, that was a hard pill to swallow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it injured his self-esteem. But at the end of the day, you don't need to let nobody separate you from that bag. You know what I'm saying? You got other responsibilities off the field. So, as tough as it was, he should have swallowed that pill and taken the advice of some of his veteran players and said, we're going to deal with this later. It ain't over. It ain't over. You got to weigh the cost. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to sacrifice your money? Or do you want to, win the argument in that moment? So I think, for me, I would have told him, hey, you ain't got too many more times, for us to be doing this, but at the end of the day, how can you go home and tell your kids, what I'm saying, like, I messed up this money. We got to move out of this beautiful home because, I'm no longer on the team. So, you just got to weigh the cost. I mean, that's a difficult call right there. I don't think he handled it very maturely at the moment, but when you're in the passion of the moment, who's to say what you might do?
Well, I mean, I agree, but my pushback is this. Like I said, I agree with everything you said. My pushback is this. I think it's good for stuff like this to happen because, truth be told, a lot of people don't know just how disrespectful coaches can be.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how it feels to have your entire dream in the hands of somebody who may not even like you as a person. Especially that, and you think about it, there's a lot of players in a lot of situations, and this is across the board in all sports. They get traded or they get picked up by a team, and the coach and the player, they don't gel. There's something about that relationship that doesn't work. We saw that happen a little bit with Odell Beckham. We saw that happen a little bit with what's his name? The receiver we were just talking about from UCF.
Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall. It happened to him. It happened to T.O. It happened to several people, throughout the years. Well, when that player and that coach doesn't gel, it automatically makes that player feel like it's him against the coach and anybody who thinks like him, which could be very detrimental to his success and his check and his bag, like you were saying, because that's a business. Once you get out of high school, you're no longer playing it for the love of the game. Sorry. You're no longer playing it for the love of the game because because you can ask any collegiate athlete that has ever had to subject himself to your life and your schedule being under the control of other people like that, military folk, it's very similar. They tell you what time to wake up, what time you eat, what you eat. I mean, your life is already scheduled out for you. So it's no longer, oh man, I get to play tonight. It's like, man, all this stuff I've been doing, all this film and all this practice and all this studying, I'm ready to get out of the dang film room. A lot of time it's like that. And so when you got coaches who basically, when they get to the point where you got a person like AB who's not going to let you kind of do anything, and then he's not going to let you talk slick to him and greasy. It they want to they're not going to take this off of AB. They're going to keep it on him because if you look at the sports narratives and how they've done athletes, they don't let athletes die without being killed, murdered, and maimed by the media. They're not going to, especially a black man. They're going to keep this on him as if there's something wrong with AB. When you've got Roethlisberger crying and hollering about stuff, you've had what y'all call him the GOAT, but I don't call him the GOAT. The quarterback from the Patriots. What's his name? He's at Tampa Bay now. I don't forgot his name just that quick. I don't forgot his name. What's his name? Brady. Tom Brady. All the crying that he did to get his way. My man here at Green Bay, all the crying and whining he's done. All the crying and whining Drew Brees did. So they'll let all of them go through all of these public emotions and be okay. But this guy has clearly been pushed to the edge, and him knowing his own limits, he can't even tell. It's like the horse can't even tell the rider, I can't run today.
Hey,
And
Negro,
and this
The horse telling the jockey, my bad.
this scenario is not new. If
Yep.
you go back a couple of probably a couple of years now, there was a parallel comparison with Serena Williams versus McIntyre.
Exactly.
And she insulted, I think, a referee or a player or something like that, and she was crucified. But John McIntosh can break his racket out and cuss. That was considered, he was so passionate, in the moment in the game, and it was really excused and swept under the rug. So, we do have to acknowledge that there is a double standard. It does exist. And so, that going into the game when you become it's a part of the high profile players and athletes out of there. That's a part of it. So you got to determine, what I'm saying, are you going to be as authentic as you can, with be okay with sacrificing where you are or potentially sabotaging yourself, or what I'm saying, are you going to try to take a more diplomatic approach? You just got to really just weigh the odds, and depends on who's in your circle kind of counseling you through these moments.
Well, sis, let me ask you this question. And you brought up a good point when you start talking about the accountability and basically taking the high road out. Black men have been taking the high road out of being professionally mistreated in sports since we first got in there.
Mhm.
And that's another thing that Kaepernick had to
Mhm.
basically bear on his own shoulders, was the fact that nobody else was willing to lose anything to stand up for what they believed in, regardless of what you feel about it.
Right.
At the end of the day, I mean, how much more are we expecting black men to take from these GMs and these owners who've never played football?
Right.
I think the Chicago Bears, I think they just hired a GM today who's actually played ball. He was an undrafted free agent back in like 2008 or something like that. So we actually have somebody who's actually been on the field and knows what it feels like to be a coach. This is something I've said when I first got to UCF. I almost transferred to Georgia. I had a track scholarship that was offered to me my junior year in high school, but I deferred because I wanted a football scholarship first. But because I had a track scholarship and I still had the coach's information, I kept it, to me. My first year at UCF, I almost left. I almost transferred to Georgia, to the University of Georgia on a track scholarship, and I was going to walk on football because my position coach never played running back.
Mm.
He was a defensive back. He was a D2 player, so he wasn't all that good anyway when he played. And then on top of that, all that he knew about running backs was what he had studied on film and read in books.
Mm.
These are the people that these organizations are hiring as coaches. Every running back was black except for 3 guys. But the majority of these skilled coach positions were coached by white guys who didn't have half of the athleticism we had.
Mhm.
These are the people that are coaches. These are the people that own these teams.
Mhm.
And so I understand why AB got pissed off and got upset because they probably been talking slick to him because they got a lot of money in it. He's had problems before.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to change who he is as a man to make him fit into that program. It
Right.
happens all the time and it's not going to work. But the problem is we keep asking all these black men to keep being mistreated and keep closing your mouth.
Mhm.
Eventually, we're going to have to create some other avenue, whether it be another league or whatever, which is why I know this is kind of a segue, but which is why I'm so glad we're getting all of these D1 athletes are starting to transfer to Tennessee State, Jackson State, Southern, Grambling, South Carolina State. Look in the last 3 or 4 weeks, how many D1 black college athletes are leaving these PWI institutes to go be with people. And it's not because the program is better. These guys are going because the coaches can understand these guys. They can have a better experience as a college athlete with someone who really knows their plight. And so that's probably one of the solutions. I think that would curb all this what you see in AB because they did the same thing to Kwame Brown.
Mhm.
The first high school student to ever be drafted out of high school, you gave him about 12 minutes per game, and you allowed the media to call him a bust when he spent 13 years in the league. You see what I'm saying? So they're going to play this whole diatribe and like he's this crazy guy because they're going to always paint the black man as this crazy dude who
Right.
can't handle professionalism and can't handle success.
Right.
We got to change it. We got to change the narrative at some point.
Well, I think that, when you have these incidents and it's pretty much, I don't think his experience is isolated. I think the fact that he's being public about his resistance against it is, not very, popular, or, it just doesn't happen. I mean, and then, the example that you use, Kaepernick, look at it. I mean, like, how many people we rallied around him, and when I say we, I mean, the media and the general public, we rallied around his idea of doing it. But in terms of his career, what
Yeah.
I'm saying, where was the support? So,
Well,
I think more of the players are gonna have to, speak up and really, kind of form a united front if they really want to change. But I think so many people are willing to just kind of, what they call it, go along to get along. And
yeah.
until they unify on that, it's going to continue to be the same results. It's going to
But,
continue to be the same results.
but you know what? You're right. And the problem is what's so detrimental about that is the fact that they said the same thing with the 2 guys in the Olympics, Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, Hank Aaron, Reggie Jackson. I mean, we could go on and on. All these guys
Look
who
at that
basically
timeline. Look at that
that's what I'm
timeline.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like all those people from 30 and 40 and 50 and beyond years ago have been fighting for black people to unite in professional sports. And we are here in 2022, and we have still yet to have seen a move of solidarity between amongst people of color in professional sports.
Right.
I don't think we'll ever see it. unless something happens so bad where the racism and the bias and prejudice is so in your face.
Well, I think we've already arrived to that, but the fact that, as you mentioned in this episode and previous episodes, that a lot of players are moving away from the mainstream schools and going to some of the, I think it'll be a slow change, but I do see change on the horizon.
But
Because
that's at the
I think,
collegiate level now.
Yeah.
well, I mean, that's where it starts. That's where, that's where majority of the drafting comes
There's
from.
credit. There's credit at that level, no doubt. I'm saying that it's a different story of leveling the playing
I
field, no
mean,
pun intended, at the NFL level, because then you got this
absolutely,
vast
but when
majority of the teams owned by people that don't look like you, that pretty much
mhm.
are that jock over the horse.
Well, I get that, but what my point of view is coming from is the pool of selection drafting into the NFL comes out of the collegiate pool.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
yeah,
Oh, absolutely. But at this point, is that that's the whole. It depends on what site you're looking through. If that's
mhm.
the end goal is to get a pool of athletes from the collegiate level and service the HBCUs, then yeah, all is great. There's a win, and there is a win. But then at the other level, at the higher level, you are now answering to a different devil.
yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
But and more when more of the veteran, players and the veteran coaches, when they start aligning themselves with the HBCUs, that is part of the mentorship. You know what I'm saying? They can expose the potential collegiate players and potential NFL players to what they experience. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Just like the example you just used, you have coaches who are coaching players who have never played at that level. You know what I'm saying? So when you start to infiltrate the HBCUs with veterans who have played and then that look like them, that have experienced this situation similar to them, then they can start getting their minds ready for, this is what you got. This is a type of a training, a special type of training that you can receive from that, as a collegiate player. Like, this is what you're going to be expected to enter in. If Are you sure this is you know the arena you want to play in? But like you said, so many times players are not getting that extra point of view or that other point of view until they actually are in the midst of it all. So
So let me ask you this because Rashawn put a good point on in a comment, and I kind of want to tie what you just said to what he said. He said the standard of being black and successful. He's talking about how they hold us to a higher standard of
mhm,
ethics and all that kind of stuff when we make it. Even though we know that it's not fair, even though we know that it's a propagandized type move when you put a person of color in a successful position.
mhm,
A lot of people actually are expecting them to fail or are limiting their success because they know at the end of the day the network just isn't as large as somebody else who's who's a part of the majority. However, the standard of being black and successful, should we, moving forward, add to the curriculum or add to the blueprint that we're going to have to learn and be taught that success looks different or success is obtained or success is realized taking a different road than our counterparts because they can be successful and Charlie Sheen, people like that, they can have stouts with addictions and all kind of stuff and go to rehab and still get number one roles in box office films. And yet, when we're on a road to success, our life is under a microscope. And it seems like a lot of times we've seen it happen over and over again, but we're not expecting that to be the norm for the next person. Should we just go ahead and make it a normal expectation that when we make it, we should expect to be treated differently? Because it seems like every time we get successful, we act like that shouldn't happen to us, but everybody behind us went through the same thing.
I think we're still talking about you blending two different things. And
Well,
so success, that's great. We can talk about success, but then it's like having the cake and eat it too. In football, if you're gonna play their game, I say their game intentionally. If
mm-hmm,
you're gonna play on their team, their game, their league, then expect to get treated the way they want you to be treated.
So that's what I'm
Otherwise,
saying.
back off and make your own league.
So that's what I'm saying. So when we come to the league, do we need to kind of adjust our perspective of what success is? Because it's not going to be the same for our counterparts. And of course, we know most of the time that our contracts are written a little bit different than our counterparts. So if we know the rules are not going to be equitable across the board, should we expect success to look the same,
But
even though we know the rules are different?
Is it success if your rules are different and you know it and you're not happy with that? I'm adding that piece in there if you're
Right.
not happy with that. Because success, as we always will say, is pretty much what you want it to be. It's subjective. And so if you feel you're successful until the coach turns around and says, I never wanted you on the team anyway, so get the F out of here. And all of a sudden now you don't feel successful.
Well, I know we're specifically talking about football, but I just think the African American experience.
Well, I don't want to keep it just to football. I don't want to keep it just to football. Even
I like
though,
where she's going though.
yeah, I feel it.
It's a methodology that already exists. It's called the black tax. I'm
Right.
not sure if y'all familiar with that.
Yes.
Okay, so just because your profession changes doesn't mean that the black tax disappears or doesn't exist anymore. So what I would suggest is just what is already currently happening, and you guys have already attested that more people are investing, and players are looking towards other schools and other alternatives. So I think it might be a slow turnaround, but I do think the turnaround is coming where that mentorship, the element of coaching these collegiate players and letting them know once you hit that NFL arena, it's a different animal. You know what I'm saying? Your mind gotta be in a different way of mind, a different way of thinking. But
I liked where you were going though with that, because I think what we're knocking on up against is a general statement that there's a desire to get away from that black tax. And the way that we steer away from that is to do business, schooling, whatever it is, success with our own people.
Right. That's right. That's right.
I see where you went there.
You like that?
I like that.
Well, that's true. You know what I'm saying? We gotta.
I got a segment at some point in the near future. I started bringing it up pre-show, but I got a segment that I really want us to tackle, and I think it's going to be somewhat sensitive because personally, this is an area where I think I want to be able to have an open dialogue with our family and with our community, our business community. Is how can we stand behind, preach, support, want to elevate HBCUs for us, by us, but can't get behind the notion of a black chamber.
Right.
Let's move on, though. Let's move on. I just want to tell you that.
Before we move on, we do have one of our viewers, Melanie, that commented. Yeah, hi Melanie. She commented, "How can we speed up the process and make it faster?" And I'm guessing her question is geared towards how can we speed up the process of trying to be rid of the black tax, so to speak. And it's very simple, you know what I'm saying? Education and mentorship. We got to start educating our own and what to expect, and then educating other people. You teach people how to treat you. You teach them that. So people that may never, that are not in our ethnic group, that will never experience what we experience. The only way that they can halfway understand what we go through is by sharing it and educating it, what our experiences are, so where we are and where we would like to be. So we have to teach everyone how to treat us, and that includes young players who want to get in the NFL. We got to let them know, we hope for the best, but we plan for the worst. So this is probably what you're going to experience, even though we don't want you to. We want you to have experience the best scenarios there can be, but racism,
So what
abuse,
did she
verbal,
ask her to speed up what?
yeah, I think she was talking about speed up the progress, like what we're talking about, the injustices. She wants to know, how can we speed up the process? We were talking about HBCUs
I
are,
know. Speed up what process though? Maybe she
of
can articulate it while we're trying to interpret it.
right. Well, of course, she said progress is what she commented in there, and I'm thinking like
So,
speed
but
up
that's
progress.
where I'm kind of at odds of the response compared to what it seems like she's asking. As far as I'm just gonna say, I don't rock with the education and all the mentorship is not gonna get us there. I mean, that's what we've been doing for centuries now at this point.
Uh,
And what's going to happen? It's going to happen from that other side that is causing a black tax. Policies have to change. Institutions have to change, and that's not our side.
it's not our side, but it can become our side in terms of education. When you are educated and we vet people who can be in those high powered positions, you know what I'm
Like
saying?
what?
That is where the change is coming
Like
from.
the state representatives, like
Well,
Congress.
that can only be done by education. You know what I'm saying? You have to have qualified people in those positions, which is an element of education.
So
So
how long has it been taking to turn that ship at this point? That's what I'm saying is that when she's asking the not to say what you're saying is incorrect, it's correct, but she's asked how do we make it quicker? It's not taking any longer or quicker with education. Education is good, but until that other side realizes what they are doing and call their own people out
right.
that are conservative in ways that are rightfully, or it's not rightfully, but just emphatically trying to not bend on certain laws and certain policies,
Right.
it's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna change totally in anytime soon. But I will say this past season of elections, there has been the most minority people who feel public uh public positions in decades. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
great. So what did they do
Yeah.
to Big Nick? What did they do with Big Nick? What did they do with Tony Tone?
Well,
So what I'm
that's
saying is that we've got to learn. I'm not saying that anything you're saying is wrong. What I'm saying is that when we get to a point that we got a notch, what they do is they figure out a way to get two more notches. So when Stacey Abrams came through and pulled Georgia blue, what they did was they went and rewrote the laws so that it would make it illegal to serve someone water and to make the voting process harder.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is that every time that we do something that is, re-educate the people, get more people out to vote, the problem is not the education. It's not the education. So again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm not at fault with what you're saying. What I'm saying though is that the other side has to be accountable too. So when people are asking, how do we make progress go smoother? Talk to your own people.
Right,
Don't
but
ask me how to make it better, because we're doing our part for a lot of the examples that I can think of.
I agree, but I still feel that there needs to be a collaboration. I can't tell them to go talk to their own people and they misrepresent what our experience is.
They
So
know
we
what they're
have to,
doing. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I get what you're saying,
yeah.
collaboration, no doubt. But I mean, I honestly have seen this all too many years,
Oh,
and they know exactly what they're doing. I've
yeah.
seen people not talk about some things that have been brought to their attention because of the constituents they serve.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I think any adult living in the South has more than experienced it time and time again. However, we have to be, I think that's a very thin line that we need to tread, because we have younger generations that are saying, in a sense, at the most rawest level, saying the same thing that you're saying. Like, well, every time we make a step, they counteract that step. So we're just not going to participate in the process at all.
No,
We're just going
now
to go
that part I
roll.
did not say because I knew
I,
where that was going.
right. I didn't say you said it. I'm saying the younger generation. They take what you just said as the defeat and the struggle and all that. They just rather not deal with it
No,
at
I'm
all.
saying my point was to answer her question. That's my response. Now, if another minority millennial is asking, what do we do? There's a totally different answer for that.
Mhm.
But for the question from someone who is not melanated as I am, Melanie, she knows I'm a kid her, but the person that is not melanated asking basically, how do we make this progress speed up?
Mhm.
I think you need to talk to your own color barrier and get in some of their rooms and bring to your attention what your desires are, and you watch the reaction and the action. Because just like, for instance, with our city here, I just happened to stumble across their past fiscal year goals, and
Mhm.
the actions were to basically use the housing authority to get multi-use housing on the south side.
Mhm.
For various reasons, it has not happened.
Yeah. And I
So we're
totally,
talking big game, but
yeah, I
no one's
totally,
holding them accountable. Excuse me.
right.
So,
And I agree. I would agree with you majority of the way with that.
I understand.
I just feel like, and Melanie, we're gonna pick on you just because you're not melanated, as your friend said. But you know what I'm saying? I can't ask
Facts.
Melanie to go into a ask, yeah, ask them to go in. I can't ask them to go
No,
into a
no, no.
room.
I said facts.
I can't, ask them to go in, ask her to go into a room and represent change or ask for change, and she has no
Hey,
clue. You know what
hey,
I'm
you can, because
saying?
that's essentially what. No, that's because that's essentially what they're asking somebody like me to do. You want
Yeah,
me to serve on a board where I'm the only color barrier on the board
yeah,
and stand up and represent the rest of the
yeah,
community.
yeah,
So fair
and
enough. Yeah, you walk into a room where you're the
yeah,
only one fighting for that cause. Fair enough, and
yeah,
hold
but
them accountable.
listen, you're absolutely right. But listen at that scenario. You're an African American man amongst the minority in the room of Caucasians or whoever, other colors. But Melanie is a Caucasian woman presenting African Americans
No,
issues.
no, 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 no.
You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
not even asking you because she can't speak for that. I get you. What I'm
Right.
saying is that simple humanistic
Hmm.
equity is all she's got to fight for. Poverty has no color barrier.
Hmm.
I know we get into a way another subject
Yeah.
of a discussion, but I'm just saying in general terms, if you want to see progress, and I'm not talking color progress,
Hmm.
progress is not color strict restricted.
Right.
And all you got to do is, if you want it faster, hold the people that are holding that back accountable.
let's
I
And see
let's
what happens.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But I still say that Melanie needs to get with someone to
Mhm.
that's been in that position. You know what I'm saying? So she can kind of understand what the struggle is. Because that I've talked to people who are not my color, and that was one of the things they could not wrap their minds around it. And
Yeah,
even
that's
some
fine.
African
That's
Americans,
fragility.
yeah, even some African Americans who have not experienced racism and all of these injustices firsthand. Even it's hard for some of them to
And
wrap their
probably
minds around
none of them create the policies at all. Because the people who want things to stay status quo, they understand racism and they create
it.
policies based on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a blanket comment. There are some,
There's a lot of them, yes.
yeah, there are some. The young lady, and I cannot remember her name right now, but she was a media storm a couple of years back. She was pro Trump. We still have people who look like us who do not uh perpetuate our cause or our journey or our struggle. So, I mean, we have some rogues amongst us. But I just think that yes, you're right. If everybody do pull their part, but you got to understand what the struggle is. You can't. I don't want you advocating for me blindly. I want you to be very educated on what our struggle is and what we're going through.
And
And
there
so
are
that
several people
so
that
that
are educated that fight
yeah,
that
so
fight.
that when I'm not in the room with you, you will have the correct point of view
They
of
are
what my
educated
struggle
people
is.
about the fight. They try to fight that fight.
Hmm.
well, let me say this. Um, because your initial question, well, her initial question was, I don't know, was that your question or hers? I can't remember.
It was hers, and
But okay.
basically she wanted to know how can we speed up to advance the black race.
And my response to that would be different than the both of you all's, which would be absolutely nothing. The reason I say this, and I'm saying this because I'm compartmentalizing what you all have said, because what you all have said is actually true, and a viable option. In my opinion, um, There's an old saying: you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Black people have been taken to water over and over again, and we're still not drinking.
Yeah.
When it comes to the way we raise our families, when it comes to the way that we set the standard of our behavior, the way we allow our men and women to be denigrated and disrespected in music and in media, the way we have no family values as a whole, our daunting statistics that keep us in the hole. 1 in 4 of our women will even be married. 60 to 70% of them are going to be divorced within the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
80% of our children are born out of wedlock. There's nothing a white person can do to change our situation until we get tired of it. Until we get sick of the condition that we're in and the way we allow people to handle us, the way we go in ignorant in business and then trying to say the white man trying to hold us down. No. The way it's just the way that we were expecting everybody to give us another. We waiting for somebody to give us another green light, or somebody. So we wait for somebody to listen to our excuse to give us an opportunity.
Yeah.
We have been given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and we are still in the situation that we're in. Our brother Powernomics told us 100 years ago we own 1/10 of 1% of the wealth. It's 2022. Guess how much we own? one
Shout
percent,
out to
one
Claude.
tenth. Dr. Claude, and it's a 1% or 1/10 of 1% is what we still own. We have not made progress at all.
Mhm.
There was nothing Melanie can do, because until these people that are going to be our allies are going to get into the ear of white men who write these policies, who run these organizations, who sit in these seats, who run these cities and these parliaments and all this other, until we can convince them, there's nothing she can do. Absolutely nothing. How many white people were with us in the civil rights movement? There were a lot of them. Did they change anything? No. For most of them, they put their lives on the line and
Yeah.
and cause their situation to be, dangerous or potential. They could become a target or whatever. That's nothing a white person can do. To be honest, they can give us an opportunity here or one there or a little bit of here or and you got some people walking around. All white people ain't bad. Well, all of them are. Most of and we're trying to point the fingers. We have to take accountability for the black community. They are not going to take us. They've been calling us 3/5 of humans since the start. There's nothing they can do
You know what?
until we want to change it.
I just love there is 3 different hosts on here with 3 different points of view, and I say fire on all cylinders. Do
Absolutely.
everything.
That's what I agree with
Fire
you,
on
because
every last
the thing is,
cylinder.
neither one of these is the silver bullet.
Right.
Exactly.
All three
Yeah.
of these arguments are valid.
Mhm. Points of view, sir. Points of view.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Points of
yeah.
view. So, Melanie, since you're our guest who's not on physically, but apparently you are a big part of this conversation. You know what I'm saying? Get with us so you can feel our struggle. But if we are not there to consult with you, follow Dwayne's advice and just go ahead and advocate for us anyway. And
Right.
if somebody asks what they can do, follow Mac's advice.
Yeah.
Listen.
Well, I mean, the advocacy is definitely probably the least invasive thing that they can do is jumping on the platform, learning about the process, teaching their children, giving their children a balanced perspective about people of color instead of what you've heard or what your mama taught you or the ignorance you were brought up in. So I would lean toward the advocacy
But you know what?
to give you a solution.
On a serious note, I did have an opportunity to speak to a gentleman who is 94 years old. He was an immigrant to this country. He came over from Germany, and his family kind of settled in New York. And he said for a long time, in his community until he was practically a teenager, there were no African Americans in his neighborhood. They were all like immigrants and Germans, and that's how he grew up. And really, he said he grew up, his parents and all the older generation, they were living off the stereotype of, they were fearful of African Americans. And so him and I have just really been learning from each other. So, we really need to just sit down and have a conversation sometime. I think that that's going to help. I don't think it's going to speed it up. Don't get me wrong. But I do think that it would give you a different point of view of race relations and, how the different upbringing kind of affects how we interact with each other.
I suggest y'all bring in a right wing politician in that conversation also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
See
can
how
really
much
see
pushback you get.
Well,
exactly.
as soon as I find one, we probably will.
I can give you plenty. Give you plenty.
It's gonna be a pushback for sure.
I don't know if you guys.
Hey, all you gotta do is walk over to what is it? I think 416 North Ashley Street.
Mhm.
That white building called the Chamber of Commerce. You'll find plenty in there if you really want to have a conversation, and they'll welcome you in there to have a conversation if you want to
Yeah,
have that
yeah,
in depth. Let me see how you feel
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. But I think we need to realize that the masses, that they don't look at people as people. They look at them as opportunities. They look at them as pawns, a part of the process. They look as they're looking at the big picture. They're not looking at humanity and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's where we miss it. Is that those people in power, they're looking at the bottom line, and that's where we have to lean our conversation. Is how can we effectively move that bottom line? So if they don't see us as people, they definitely see our dollars, i.e., bus boycott. So I mean, those are going to be the things that we need. We got to be strategic, but on a larger scale. Forget about pulling your pants up. What about going like Malcolm X did, going to the job and having 100 men outside who move at the point of your finger? That's more fearful to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Than you learning you learn how to do your taxes or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Guys,
it's
I
a lot.
want
It's a
guys,
lot.
our viewers are chiming in. I want to
Yeah,
Dwayne.
I saw that. I saw what Samuel put. That was a good one. Go ahead though. Go ahead.
No, no, not
What's
me.
up?
Perhaps Dwayne could. He's usually our narrator of the show.
Oh
So
no, I'm missing it. Go ahead. Excuse me.
you
I'm
missing
trying
it?
to flip back. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, we got some comments. Cedric, Wall Street, Montgomery. He was very comical and very surprised. He asked the question like, Mac, are you agreeing with Suzette?
To a degree. To a degree, yeah. To a
Agree.
degree,
Hey,
yeah.
it is what it
It
is.
is what it is.
Right.
Very
Have
true.
Melanie. Then we also have Melanie that comment like, I talk about this is her statement. I talk about this stuff with other people besides y'all. And she said, I ain't on White Island all the time. I just like to have fun.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's good that we could have, people from all different perspectives. I mean, even I'm pretty sure talking about Cedric being in the law enforcement arena, I'm sure he has a lot of input he can definitely put into this conversation on multiple levels. And I'm sure we all can living in the South, what I'm saying? We all have our little stories here. But I guess we kind of veered away, but yet still stayed on the same subject as
It's
AB.
it's
But
relatable. It's relatable. I
It
mean,
is.
it's
okay.
that
So
jockey and horse mentality.
what did you have next? Bold.
You
well,
know it's coming.
yeah. Well, our next one is I was kind of trying to go back and forth between which one I wanted to tackle next, but yes, sir. Yes, sir. The things I see my profession said, said still going in. Yeah, we see some stuff, and we get it. I think that's just another conversation we definitely need to bring up
Yeah.
about race relations across the board in professions and
Yeah.
careers and things. But so I have two questions. I've been given an opportunity. This is the bold week, so the bold week we get to ask some really probing questions, provocative questions, questions that make you say, "Oh, wow." Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Sis when I sent her a quick recap of where I'm going with this. But there's a question that I want to ask, and I was watching a show again. It's called. It's on the Lapeef Network. It's called Lapeef Let's Talk. If you get an opportunity to check with them, subscribe, go to them on YouTube. Awesome show. Kind of what it is that we want to kind of I guess, fashion what we do here. But during the conversation, they had a really good conversation, and then something came up that I wanted to share. There was a question that was asked, and this particular question went from 0 to 100 really quick. And so I'm going to play this clip for you all because I want you all to hear it for yourself, and then we'll dive in. We might go through some of the responses, but we'll dive in. So put your seatbelts on. This is going to be a good one.
Yep.
Let me know when you can see it. All right. You ready?
Interesting, because if you are dating, hey, the only way to get this open client
Sorry,
is
guys.
LinkedIn. Wait, hold on. Let's...
Ads. All right, here we go. There go that dial up, bro. It's doing it again. What is up with this thing, bro? Come on. My internet be showing out, boy. Good Lord.
Well, go ahead and cue up this video for us. What are we about to watch?
All right, let me cue it up real quick. I don't know what's going on here, but
There's a possible chance.
All right, here we go. Now it's ready as soon as I back off of it. All right, here we go. Technical difficulties, but I think we're
You might
over.
get an invitation. You might get an invitation to come on up. Let me cook for you. Let's watch a movie. Let's Netflix and chill, so to speak. So my next question of the night is, oops, wrong.
I don't know what's going on tonight.
What's the question?
All right. The question is, since my internet is just tripping tonight, the question is, if you're invited up to a room, should sex be expected? If you're invited up to someone's room, i.e., it's someone that you have interacted with, whatever.
Wow.
You all have went out. Now, I'm not going to paint the scenario for you, but I'm going to tell you this conversation went left fast.
Well, I've got to start out with some questions first. You may not, like you said, you may not want to paint it, but I think the answer for me is going to start with what phase of life are you in? Because a grown man.
Now, see that's what I want to do. What I want to do with this, and that's the mistake. That's the mistake they started making when they started answering the questions. So I really don't want to add color to it.
Hey.
Because there's a reason why I'm saying that, because I'm going to back that up with something else later.
You want a yes or no?
A yes or no answer.
No.
No.
Nothing should be expected. No.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, and there's a reason why that's worded that way. So we'll add color now. So if you are, and I'm going to
hold on. I want to give Melanie's answer right quick. Instead, I'm going to replace my answer with Melanie. She said nothing should be expected unless you naked.
Exactly.
That's the only time. Period.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask Suzette.
Oh God. Yeah.
Go ahead, Suzette. Speak for us all, please.
I agree with all my queens. My queen said no. And to be more specific, Melanie said, unless you naked, the answer is no. Is whatever she invited you up for, the drink or coffee, and that's it. No means no, gentlemen. No means no.
Okay. So the reason I asked, so I know that Black had some other follow up questions. So let's add some color to it. So you can answer.
No. Now you want my color. Okay.
I want your color now.
Okay, I see. We gave like the overarching answer in the beginning, but then now we get some variations to the tone of.
Thank you, Cedric. Thank you, Cedric, because I want y'all to stand on that no. I want you to stand on that no. Moving forward, in every scenario, it needs to still be no. All right? All right, continue. Go ahead.
So one of the color spectrums is with what Mr. Montgomery just described.
All right,
The
so
dependency of time, the dependency of what state of life you're in. You a high baller, high lifestyle. You are a college person, perhaps 3 in the morning. Obviously consent matters. Don't get me trapped in that now. But the point is that I think both parties kind of have an idea at this day and age what the expectation is. If there's a concern, the rule is go home then.
Yeah.
all right. So before I dig in a little bit further, Suzette, is there any, because a lot of times men get pointed at as, oh, we're the ones that's actually getting after the women. We're the ones that always want sex. We're the guy that, but there's a study done in the 70s by Stanford University in the 70s that debunked that myth and said the sex drive of men and women is the exact same. All right. So if we get all of this, we're the ones that's always put as the ones that's supposedly setting up these situations. Are you telling me that it is okay? Well, are you telling me that if you are invited up to a man's personal space or a woman's personal space, when do women ever expect to have sex in a relationship, or is it something that just happens? Do you have an expectation? Because when a man is with a woman or dating someone, he has a level of expectation, and it's usually bent upon how much you spent, or the time he's been with you, or the quality of the time he spent with you. So we it's almost like it's a default response for women to expect men to want sex. But what you're telling me is that you can go up to a guy's room at any time and sex never be an expectation, or it shouldn't be for him.
Now, I think that what Big Mama and Mima and all them said, I think was absolutely true. Like after a specific time at night, ain't nothing open but 7-Eleven and legs. So I think time plays a factor. You know, if it's late at night, it's definitely a booty call. It's
So what?
definitely a booty call.
All right. So okay. So here it is. All right. So Dwayne, y'all, both of y'all in Valdosta. Okay. Let's just say that Dwayne lived in Atlanta, but he's in Valdosta a lot. Does a lot of business in Valdosta. He comes into town. You know, Dwayne's married. He's been married for years now. Happy with married children, etc. But he comes into town and he goes and gets a hotel room. And he like, hey, yo, Suzette, I'm in town. Hey, swing by. Come to the room real quick.
Both of us shaking our head.
At that particular moment, what's going through your mind?
Wow.
These
are only examples, guys. Only
examples.
Yeah,
I try to be as pathetical as I could up front.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Common sense does not go out of the window. You've already established what he is and all of that. So you as a female, for you to even fall into that role, you already know, like you're out of your lane. You are definitely out of your lane. This is a married man, and I don't care what he, suggests. It's up to you.
Well, I mean, okay, so Jacque says no, of course. She says, I'm establishing what we do before I arrive or he arrives. That's it. That is how you handle it. My daughter will be told that you don't ever go to a guy's personal space. I don't care how cool y'all are. I don't care if he's married. I don't care if that's not your brother or your daddy or your cousin or somebody like that you're related to, you got a good relationship with. You should not be going to their room, period.
Right.
But the
That's the
problem
language that I
is
want to make sure you put on there. Period. In
exactly
those cases, specifically when you talk about raising a daughter, there is no go to a personal space after a certain time of the day.
no,
Period.
absolutely not.
Daytime, nighttime, dusk, morning, nothing.
But the problem is, a lot of our sisters
Oh,
will put themselves in these private quarters of these men
oh.
and then be there 12, 1, 2 in the morning. And when the guy makes a move, then he could possibly get me too.
Mm.
Because seemingly, with your answer, seemingly, women feel like it's okay to be in any space with a man.
Mm.
And he shouldn't do anything out of what you think he should do. We have, because again, if you're going to a man's hotel room, you're going to his house for dinner, a man is not inviting you over because your company was that great.
Oh my God.
I'm just asking because I don't, my internet's tripping and I can't really show
Yeah,
you.
my internet was kind of tripping too. But the thing is, it has to be a certain level of respect on both sides. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
A woman should never go to a private quarters with a man that is not her daddy or her brother or a relative. Period. There is no judging the character. There is no we cool so he won't do nothing. Do you know how many times women have went to rooms with guys they thought they were cool with, and then he asked them or he made a move, and then they was like, But you done came to this man's private space where nobody else is around.
Mhm.
What else are y'all expecting to happen? I'm just asking. These are just questions.
Well, I totally agree. Number one, but then maybe this past year, I'm not sure when it came, but it was very recent. The whole Netflix and chill era, but yeah, so that kind of tainted that theory that women should never do it. But that gave some women the illusion that yeah, it's okay. This is what we're gonna do. We grown. This is what we're gonna do. So
But
yeah.
you know what happened? You know what encouraged that behavior? The
Mm-mm.
same thing you all have been fighting for, feminism.
Yeah.
Because now you fought for the sexual liberation. You wanted to be like the men, and
Hmm.
now with your sexual liberation, you actually can put a man in a very very tight situation. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
So
Think
it's
about it.
what, what did you just say? What did you just say? The women put the men in a tight situation? Is that what you said? I think my internet is acting up.
Yeah, that's what I said. And I said that because where did the Me Too movement come from if men have been put in tight situations?
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
I'm
Where
gonna
did
do it.
it come from? It came
I'm just
from
saying.
men with inappropriate behavior and lack of self-control. That's where the Me Too movement came from.
And then when you do the research on all these men that were called out, look at how many of them were actually indicted. Look at how many of them actually had real evidence that
Mhm.
something actually really happened. Look at how many guys have been. Look at the girl just a couple of weeks ago. She lied because two guys ran a train on her that she agreed to, but when she found out somebody else knew about it, she went and said they R-worded her, and the guy went to prison for like 5 to 10 years for her to only come back later and said I was lying because I didn't want nobody to know.
Mhm. Now wait a minute now. That definitely happens a lot. But then
Oh,
also I
wait,
think it's
wait! You can't say that happens a lot and then say but.
because the butt of it all is that it's responsibilities on both sides. You know what I'm saying? It's responsibilities on both sex. For a man to ask some using that same scenario with different players, we're not gonna use you, Dwayne. we're gonna say we're gonna say Joe Blow, using the Joe Blow scenario. Joe Blow know he was married when he asked her to come over. You know what I'm saying? So number one, what type of respect level did Joe Blow have for this young lady that he invited over in the first place?
Okay, but you're using an extreme situation of someone who's married.
Okay, let's go to the more common, more generic one. Just on a college or a high school level. You know what I'm saying? When you That's saying that a girl, a female, or a male can never be just casual platonic friends.
That's what it's telling men. That's what it's telling men. It's telling men that we're going to have to be extremely careful and on eggshells. On you know what this is telling men that moving forward we need to start having NDAs. We need to make you all sign NDAs and consent agreements.
We need to make y'all sign them.
But we're not the ones running around talking. Playing this. We got to be safe around men and be careful around men because men are this or men are that. Men aren't saying that about women. Even when they get cornered, even when men get all worded, the woman still gets the slap on the wrist. Think about it. Think about it, because I've told my son as an 18-year-old guy that it's a possibility that you're gonna have to start walking around with an NDA and a consent agreement, because a woman can say yes all the way up to the hotel room in the bed, and then if you do one thing, she can take that thing and paint a whole narrative about you that nobody will think otherwise, because it's believe all women. You can't say that's not true.
Then bring it up 30 years later.
And then bring it up 30 years later. And then when they bring it up, just like the Bill Cosby situation, you let all that happen, all that time, and now you Me Too, and the courts entertained it.
Bruh.
This is what I'm saying. The courts entertained it. So I asked the question, if you're going up to a man's private quarters, is sex expected? Because men aren't asking you up to their private rooms to watch a Netflix movie. But yet we have all these incidences where we'll walk right up in there, and then when the guy makes the move, or he's a pervert, or he's a this, or he's a that, you went to the private room.
Blame the education system.
I told you, education is needed.
And Ty said, and she'll tell her friends a good story and change her mind. Yes, this is absolutely true. And this is something that I want our sisters to start taking very seriously, because when you play this game, you're making it that much more difficult for your own children. Because these women know what they're getting into when they go into these rooms. But Brittany Renner has a long track record of celebrities. And yet she came out and said, yes, I scammed old boy. Yes, I took him for his money. Yes, I had a baby and bounced on him. And most women won't even say one cross word about that.
No.
Yeah, you know I'm telling the truth. Look, and nobody's jumping on her because she secured the bag. She went and made the decision. She understood if she went to the hotel room what it was about. So why is it that we have these other scenarios? Because what you're saying is that even if a woman goes to a man's private quarters, sex should never be the expectation. I get it. Morally, you're right. But we don't live in a moral perfect world.
No, we do not.
And if you've been to the club and you've been drinking and you've been smoking and all this other stuff, and it's 1:30, 2:33 in the morning, and no boy said, hey, swing by, pull through, and you come over there and you said sex is not the expectation. So you went to 3 in the morning, and regardless of what the situation is, he shouldn't expect it. This is a problem, y'all. I know it doesn't seem to be a big deal.
No, I think people know what a booty call is. Come on now. Yeah.
But you said no. You said sex is never the expectation.
No, I said I am going to go with Big Mama them that said ain't nothing open after one leg with 7-Eleven. That's what I said.
I'm just saying we're gonna have to really change the narrative about this because
Yeah.
we can't keep having our sisters willy nilly going to these private quarters of these guys, and then when that guy's asking you something that human nature people that what happens what people do, he all of a sudden now has to worry about is he going to be me too? Is he going to lose his career? Is he going to lose his reputation? Is he going to lose his finances? I mean, like it's all it takes is for her to feel some kind of way about it at the right time with the wrong person or with the right person, and it could be a bad situation. I just wanted to know because that conversation went off the rails. I would encourage y'all to go back and watch it
Hmm.
because all of the sisters were acting like they never have an expectation of sex in a relationship.
Wow.
Never. They
Yeah.
said, no, we don't ever think about that. We don't ever think about that because, we could just, if we wanted it, we could just turn and say we wanted it. We never think about it. It's always the guy. It's always the guy. And I was like, what? It's like
Well,
you're in a relationship with someone, whether you have a 90-day rule or a 8-week rule or whatever your rule is,
mhm.
you never have an expectation. And they all said they never do. And that's when I found out it's disingenuous because when you come to start talking about the drive and the desire of females, you might not get a straight answer. I'm just asking, but that's just something that I saw earlier, and that's just where I was. But we can read the comments real quick because Jar K said parents need to start having these conversations with their kids. Sex shouldn't be taboo. It
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Say that, Jarkay.
It should not be taboo
Hmm.
because I started when I saw this. I said, I'm going to talk to my 11-year-old daughter immediately. Because if a girl ever came to me and was like, hey, come by the crib, da 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 da, if she's asking me to come to her personal space,
Yeah. You expecting?
she's trying to do something because she's trying to get me in a private quarters. But you said that's not the case. I just want to get to know you. I just want to bring you in.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying now? It's a big difference. And I think if we
So
start
you're saying that I know at a certain just like Dwayne pointed out, one of his points of views or bullets was the time of day or the time of night this happens.
it
So
shouldn't.
you're saying that if someone's vice versa, male or female, invite somebody over for a dinner like at a reasonable time, like prime time. What's prime time? Like it's over at 9 o'clock p.m. or something like that, right? Like just prime time, like CBS 6 o'clock news. If somebody invite you over for dinner, that's what the expectation should be.
If you ask it that question, it should not matter because what you're saying is people only have sex at night.
I'm not saying that. I'm
I'm
just
saying the way you frame that question, you're framing it as if only time people have a desire to be sexual is during the peak times at dinner. No,
definitely. I never
no.
speak. I never speak in absolutes. But what I'm saying is the percentage goes higher at
Yeah, of
certain times.
course. Yeah, it goes. Yeah, it goes higher once you get closer to those late
Right.
night dinners.
Right.
But
But
also,
I'm asking you that it's never okay to invite someone over for dinner. Is that what
no.
you're saying?
No, I didn't say it wasn't okay. I said you cannot negate the fact that expectation. You can't say that person doesn't have that expectation
Okay. So someone invites you over for dinner or a lunch per
or
se.
breakfast.
That our breakfast is left over from the night before. We're talking about lunch and dinner. Okay, lunch
Okay.
and dinner. That should be the expectation.
I'm not saying it should be the expectations. It's something that you must discuss because if you go in with that attitude that I can be in any space with him and he shouldn't expect that from me, that's not going to help you if you haven't had that conversation, like Jar K said, prior to him coming.
Mhm.
Because a man ain't about to get up out of his bed at 1, 2, 3 in the morning to come to your house to cuddle. Ain't happening. Our expectation is when we're coming to your private space is to one of those boxes to check is going to be intimacy. But what you're telling me is it doesn't matter what time of the day. Of course, at nighttime, you might have an expectation that might cross your mind that he might want it. But at the end of the day, most men are thinking if I get her alone and she's with me alone, I'm going to have to test and see if this is something that she's agreed with, or we're going to have the conversation, right? Right?
Bottom line, all guards should be up.
That's what I'm saying.
Pretty easy.
I
That's what I'm
totally,
saying.
I totally agree with that. But then my trust level is on zero. So but yeah, I totally agree. Have your guards up. But I don't think that is a lunch or a dinner that should be the expectation. I think it should be in the back of your mind that it could be, but I don't think it needs to be the primary expectation. Now, I think if someone calls you in the middle of the night, you know what time it is. But
Well, let's. I really want to dig into that, but I think a lot of times, and this isn't. I don't know when I don't want to say that, but I do want to say it.
say it
Uh,
bold. You're not living up to your boldness.
I was about to say that the wrong way. I just think that a lot of male and females look at our interactions as being what they many times are not.
Mm,
Uh,
I would agree with that.
men don't. A lot of men that I know, I'm not going to say all men. A lot of men that I know aren't necessarily around their women because they just love their conversation and love their company.
Oh,
That's just the mere fact because men don't get in relationships for that to have a friend. We don't choose a wife because she's friendly or because she has great conversation. There's a few other things that go
what,
into that. You know what I'm saying?
what are those things, Bo? What are those things that you speak of?
That we choose women.
Yeah.
Well, for me, because I'm gonna start answering like a lot of my sisters do. They don't answer for the generalities; they answer for themselves, so they can isolate themselves from any type of being pointed at. I know the game too. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak for other men, but for me, I look for someone who's definitely feminine. Someone who is really really happy to be feminine. I'm looking for someone who has a great personality, of course, because I don't want to be with someone who's kind of a vex to be around. Then, of course, there are other things, spirituality, demeanors, someone who loves children because I have to, etc. But I'm not getting with you because you have a great podcast and I just love to hear you talk. No, there are other things that I'm looking for that when I need them, I want them to be there. And the most important thing is that femininity. So, but again, I digress. But I was just saying, those are just certain things that we have to start really understanding. John K says, I've gotten a text at lunch. It doesn't matter the time. It's about where you are in the relationship. Just be straightforward. Exactly. Have the conversation. Don't think for 1 second it's just okay to invade the private space of a man or a woman and not think in the back of your mind that you might be approached or might be, I don't know, coerced or what's another word I'm looking for? Propositioned.
Mm.
But any closing remarks? Anybody want to close that last one out, or did we say enough on that one?
I got nothing else. Mm-mm.
You got nothing else on that one?
Mm-mm.
Well, I'm gonna try it again, bro. I'm gonna try it one more time and see if it'll work, man. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. I'm
Do
gonna
it.
try. Let's see. Y'all pray for me. Here we go. Let's try it. This is question number 2. All right, let me know. Let me know when you can see it. Hopefully this thing works. I'm sure it's probably going to go to commercial.
We're going to clean up the infection. We're going to tell the truth. Mr. Manziel, in your lie detector test, you were asked, did you have any sexual contact with any of your three daughters? You said no. And the lie detector said there was no deception.
Yes, thank God.
How does that feel for you? And that your daughters know it.
Well, I felt they always did know it.
You felt they always did know it.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't speak it because
They didn't know no better. They wasn't told no different.
Miss Yvonne took a lie detector test and said, did you make up or exaggerate any stories with the intention to harm Monzel? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive. Then he asked you, did you say something to the effect of, I'm going to make sure you're never happy again? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive. So Miss Yvonne has acknowledged that her story about you touching your children in a sexual way was not true. So, Miss Yvonne, is there anything that you wanted to say to Mr. Monzel?
Why didn't you fight for him hard if you knew you didn't
Excuse
do
me.
it?
And what is it that he could have said that would have made you not believe the lie you were telling? Miss Yvonne, you told the lie. It was a lie, and you told it. And you got to own it.
I'm sorry. I need you to say that you did not rape your girls. I need to hear it come out your mouth the way I've always heard it, Ma. I apologize for accusing you of raping them. Please forgive me.
You don't have to forgive him. You don't
Man,
have
about
to.
to flip that chair over.
I cannot accept your apology because it's not sincere. Deep down, I know that you didn't believe that. You knew I had no sexual desires for my children. For 25 years, this thing has broken me. I don't know. It has affected my life in ways I can't even count. The things that you did. This is not no game. This is these children's lives. And it's just a demon in you that you need to deal with.
So after watching that, I had a question. And my question is, are our sisters or our women, or black women, are some black women weaving their own webs of deceit and disorder? That's my question. Because all this time, I think it was at 25 years or whatever, however many years he said, this woman has pushed the narrative on these children and on this man, knowing she was lying. And she created an entire web of disorder and deceit for her children, herself, and her ex husband. All to then be put on the lie detector test 25 years later to have it proven that you were lying. Are our sisters weaving their own web of deceit and disorder? Is my question, given this particular response. Go, Suzette, what you think?
Um, in this particular situation, most definitely, but there is no excuse for what she did to him and her daughters, indirectly, because even though she was trying to lash out at him and get back at him, it affected her daughters' lives. So like that, as Jarcade say, that's just a evilness, a evil part of her or possibly, all of her, who she is. Um, do I think that African American women are doing it on the masses? Probably no. I would say no.
What do you think, Brother Black?
Only thing I can think of is just the. I mean, what if this show never existed? Man,
Right. That's pretty tough to accuse someone of doing that. But I do know, yeah, I do know that I don't think women, black African American women as a whole are creating
No,
or
no, 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 not as a whole. I'm just saying. That's why I said are some black women.
yes. The answer is yes, some, but I don't think the majority is.
No, I don't believe the majority is either. But I think the majority is responsible because the majority is not screaming and holding this small minority accountable for when they abuse and men, and when they minimize the future of the responsibility or the value of the man in their children's life to the point where they'll make up a blatant lie that is so damning
Mhm.
just to get their way,
Mhm.
just to gain custody. So in fact, it kind of goes beyond just the potential allegations of that,
Mhm.
but I think it speaks to the larger picture that what the majority of the women are doing, and that is devaluing the black men that are fathering their children.
Mhm.
Because how diabolical do you have to be to publicly accuse the father of your three daughters
Mhm.
that all of a sudden this man has done something inappropriate to them? Only to come to find out, if you watch the full episode, she was upset that she got pregnant by him because she was in love with another man.
Mhm. Mhm.
What
Mhm.
say you on that? Because I guarantee you, if I'm not going to say that. Well, what? Because I mean, what do we say to this?
I think that I'm gonna have to disagree with you in terms of the women are not holding other women accountable because they are a minority. Just like you said, they are the minority. I think women are holding other women accountable for their travesties. But I don't think, specifically in this, in terms of females in the correlation of deceit within them, it's definitely not limited to race because our counterparts have accused our men of doing injustices over the years that have not been true. Um, but I
Say that
do.
again.
It's not. I don't think it's just specific to black women. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I just think it's uh in terms of good people, bad people. Is how I see it. And I do think that the good women in our group, in our ethnic group, is holding these women accountable.
I
Um,
don't think so.
this
I
is
don't
this
think so.
this is my point of view of how they are holding them accountable. Be-
Okay.
because in the African American community, when women have proven themselves to be unfit as a mother, that's how grandmas and big mamas and aunties are raising other women's children because they are rescuing the children out of potentially bad situations because the mother is unfit. Um,
Well, and so you're saying in that situation, she's being held accountable by somebody else taking care of her children?
she's being held accountable from what I've experienced and what I have seen and what studies have proven that the older generations are raising their children's children, their grandchildren, because they are not, or they're telling them that you're unable to take care of these children. So I'm going to take on that task of,
But
being a parent. So,
I have to push back on that, but I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
I mean, that to me, that's a part of accountability. And I have seen it firsthand where the older generation is saying, no, I'm not going to let you impose your poor decisions and your riotous living on these innocent children. So they are holding them accountable by removing the children out of their care. And that's just one particular scenario that I see in the majority, in a lot, what I'm saying, in the masses. So I do feel that the women are trying to hold uh, women, deceitful women, accountable. I
I
see.
think it. I think it's the absolute opposite. I think the fact that when you have the elders that are coming in and having to rescue you in your poor decision making isn't accountability. I think it's a rescue. I think it's a lifesaver. I think the fact that when people come in to make your situation better at the expense of you being reckless, etc., I think it does nothing to change that person's behavior.
Oh no.
That was one of the things that was the problem during that women's liberation movement, when we had all of these little girls who were growing up in Tennessee, but they were getting pregnant and being sent to Chicago, only to come back a year or two later with a so-called sister. That's not accountability. That's someone coming in and softening the blow of a bad decision that you've made. And I think if we call that accountability, that would explain why single parenthood is more attractive and more desirable than coupling up with someone and actually having a family with a man and woman in the home. That accountability, being accountable in this situation, is not having that extended support system, being able to being forced to get out there and get it in the mud so you can correct your own mistakes.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Instead of having your grandmother come in who's already raised children, who's trying to enjoy the latter part of her life, to then have to turn back around and then be a mother again.
Yeah.
That's unfair.
Oh, it's
And,
definitely
and, and we got a lot of individuals. We went through the last 30 or 40 years where we've had babies raising babies. And now we're getting to this point to where nobody really respects the idea of family, or who's, or roles, or gender roles, or whatever. Everybody wants everything to accommodate their needs and their wants and their desires, and I think that's a huge part of the problem. So when you look at this situation, this lady was willing to completely assassinate this man's character
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of her own emotions.
Mm.
And again, this isn't something that happens. This is an isolated event, because if we were to even inductively take it to another level when it comes to having children,
Mm-hmm.
when one person doesn't want one, but the other one does, but the person who does want it is the person that controls if birth happens or not, a lot of the times.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So I think it's a small example of a greater problem, because at the end of the day, this lady was willing to come on the Yanla and then halfway apologize. But before she did that, she tried to make it his fault. Why didn't he fight? Why should he have fought for it? What else could he have done? Because we all know in cases like this, if that allegation is made, you're going to have to go to hell and high water to prove that you didn't do any of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when you have men that are walking away from families and ghosting the family and not being around, many of the times you can't blame them in situations like this.
Mm.
But for 25 years, she allowed the narrative to be pointed towards the man as the problem, when in fact the whole time it was her. Why should he have needed to fight? A lot of men get hit with this all the time. Why you didn't fight harder? Why you didn't fight for your kids? Do you know how much it costs to go through a custody battle? Do you know that lawyers in Georgia will tell you up front that if you don't have any kind of evidence to prove emphatically that she's an unfit parent, your potential of getting partial custody is slim to none?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
Georgia, Georgia is definitely a state that leans towards the female. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just amazing how that happens. That men always push. Why you didn't fight harder? Why you didn't fight harder? Do you not know that the child support business industry is a $50 billion industry? Do you not know that some judges get a percentage of your child support? This is crazy. But yet, this woman being held accountable on a large scale is not going to happen. I'm sorry. And it's sad. Because the only thing she's going to be responsible for is actually apologizing publicly, and it was a half-hearted apology. I'm bringing this up because I want it to be made known that even though we got all of this stuff out here about black men, and you get a small group of people that celebrate black men, but we hear more bad about black men than good. Statistically, black men are the best fathers in this country. Statistically, yes, your census tells us that. But yet, we'll get called dusties, we'll get called this, we'll get called that, or we'll be told why you didn't fight harder. We've got to begin to change the narrative about family and how we value each other in the relationship. This is proof that black men, a lot of the times, are shirked off as irreplaceable, because if we don't fit the narrative, if we don't fit the bill, we're undesirable. And this is something we've got to change about our black men. We've got to start putting them in a different light. All of them are not in jail. All of us are not dogs. Some of us are getting drugged, like this guy right here, in secret and in private. But most men don't get on the internet and crying about who doing this, that, and the third to them. Most men just suck it up and keep going living their life. Who knows what kind of emotional or psychological scars this dude had because this woman was in love with another man, and she gonna blame him for her not being able to be open and honest about what her feelings were 25, 30 years ago. This is crazy. This is absolutely bananas. And this woman going to be able to live her life. She's going to go on and die an old woman. This is unfair. I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it because it puts women in the limelight, and it pushes that word accountability to the other side. And I know women never do anything wrong, but this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. And all we'll say was, yeah, it was bad. This man, 25, 30 years, life taken away from him. This is why I've been telling these men I've been counseling to get NDAs and consent agreements. I'm not joking. The guys that I'm mentoring and counseling, I've been telling them, non-disclosure agreements. Ask Tasha K how that worked out for her and Cardi B. Running your mouth about personal private information because your feelings are hurt. Now she got to pay over $3 million because she's sharing private information. I've been telling these young men, get you some NDAs, because after y'all break up, if she started talking crazy and greasy, take her to court. Get that a consent agreement so she ever change her. Do you know men are actually still being indicted for raping their wives? You got to get a consent agreement for your wife now. This is what feminism and equality has brought to our economy now. So fellas, you heard it right here on the Black and the Bold.
No.
Do not invite anybody to your room.
Yes, I agree with that.
Unless you've had your private space or in your car or in your office. Unless you've gotten a clear understanding in writing before they come.
Oh no, not in writing.
In writing, in text message, in email. Make it very clear. Make her respond. Get it on paper. That's what I've been telling my brothers. Because it is Russian roulette to walk around here with your guards down and expect things to go your way. Do you think this man ever thought his own wife would abandon him from his 3 daughters? It's reality, but it's true. I just wanted to bring it up tonight.
To answer that latter part of that question, I don't think that he might have expected that. But then, we were talking about last year, the blueprint. At some point, you need to vet these people that you're trying to spend the rest of your life with.
That's true. That is so true. And I think that's something we've gotten away with. That's a good point.
We were talking about the blueprint. There are, and even though I don't agree with every scenario where this generation is talking about red flags, but red flags, you need to pay attention to them because they are there.
Jar K, you see that comment Jar K made? What kind of women are y'all? These women are everywhere. It's what I keep telling you all. They're in Valdosta. They're in Tifton. They're in Statenville. They're in Quitman. They're in Adale. They're in Remerton. Yes.
What women? What are you talking about, sir?
She's talking about the women that do these kinds of things. The women who you need to get NDAs and consent agreements. Yes, these are the same women who we live with, who we work with, who we go to church with, who live in our communities, who we see every day. Yes. And yes, you hang around them. Yes, you do.
Oh my God.
I'm just telling you.
I don't agree with that counseling telling all the young men to get what do you call it? NDAs.
Get them. Because listen. Yes. Get them. Get them.
Scenarios, I think they should get them. But there are that would be saying that all young men and all men have pure intentions, and they do not.
No. That's not what that is. What that is CYA. That's exactly what that is. Because even if you don't have good okay, I'll put it like this. Anyone who wants to have an NDA or consent agreement isn't coming with bad intentions. First of all. So if I'm coming to you and I need you to sign an NDA and I need you to sign a consent agreement, we're doing this because I don't want to give you the opportunity to do something that's damning that I wouldn't do. Most men don't go back gossiping about what went wrong in the relationship all on social media.
Yes. Oh my God.
So are you saying post for post, you found just as many men who are going and exposing the problems in their relationship as you see women on social media? Is that what you're telling me?
Man, they just had a whole media storm about Lil Baby and Sweetie. Is that how you pronounce her name?
No. I want to talk about celebrities. I want to talk about celebrities because a lot of times we're leaning to that. I'm talking about men on your friend list. You see just as many men coming on social media and spilling their guts about their relationships and how they ain't been, they're not appreciated. And if you don't want me, somebody do it. And I'm gonna be all right and all this other stuff. You see men doing that as much as you see women. Post for post. Of course you don't. You just don't want to say it. It's okay.
No, we've been over this before. First of all, more women utilize social media platforms than men do. So
that's my point. That is my point. Men do not find avenues to expose themselves publicly as much as our sisters do.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So the NDA agreement would actually benefit him because he's not the first one to go and spread the gospel. He's usually coming back behind her to try to clean up what's been said.
Or what's
to cover him.
Been done. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So because of course all of us are going to do something and y'all are always going to be angels. So yeah, I get it. I get y'all going to paint us as the worst people in the world. I get it. So if that be the case, then and also if you use that, he definitely needs an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're coming in expecting him that he can have the potential to do something that could be so detrimental, every man has that potential, then every man needs to get an NDA and a consent agreement. That way, you all can stop with this. Well, what if he do this? And what if he crazy? And what if he don't? Because every man has the potential to be a mass murderer, but no women have the potential to do anything wrong or anything that could be questioned or tested or corrected. So my brothers, I'll repeat, get you an NDA, and get you a consent agreement.
And ladies, continue to collect your receipts.
Do
Make
that.
sure your bills
That way both sides can
are
stop with
covered.
all the lying and all the stick. It's extreme, Jarkay, but it needs to happen because it's only extreme until that man gets caught up in a situation with a random chick or a girl he just met or a girl he's been around for 30 days and he does something that she thinks is
That's the
questionable.
problem. That's the problem right there. Like you
What?
said, if you as a gentleman, and I'll use that term loosely in this scenario, if you as a gentleman are just constantly with random chicks and women you just meet, you need one.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
If
Don't
that's
do that.
yes,
Don't
I'm
do
saying,
that. Don't do
I'm
that
saying
because no.
if that's
Women entertain multiple men simultaneously too. Please stop playing that game.
I'm gonna
Women do it too.
if
Women women
if you
come.
living reckless like
Women.
that, you need an NDA.
Are you
I would
saying
agree.
okay? Okay. So at the end of the day, again, we're the ones that all of a sudden always get this default. We're going to do something bad to you. So if that be the default to all men that you all have about us, then you should feel safer the fact that you have an NDA and a consent agreement. That way, the both of you all know ain't no funny business going on. Since you got to get your receipts and since you got to find out all this other stuff, then while he's getting his information, you can get yours, and that way the both of y'all can walk away without all the drama and the foolishness. Because there's nowhere in the world we can sit here and argue the fact that this woman has done this for 25 to 30 years and then give every other woman the benefit of the doubt to say she ain't going to do that. That's not fair, and that's not smart. I'm telling you, fellas, get your NDA, get your consent agreements, get it in writing, get it in text message, get it in email, record her saying it so you can protect yourself because it's too much to lose nowadays. Too much to lose for you to be playing this game and giving every person that opportunity to possibly completely change the trajectory of your future because they were emotional. I'm not doing it. But again, it's bad, it's sad, and it hurt me to even watch my man, and I don't blame him because I wouldn't have forgiven her either.
I agree.
I wouldn't have forgiven her either. I would have let her sit in that for another 25 years before I would even responded to that. Because God knows that is that is so evil.
Yeah, that was definitely evil. But number one, not to minimize the situation at all. This particular video clip that you played, not only was it evil for him, but it was even doubly evil for the children. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
What kind of stigma those young ladies had to grow up with, that they were molested by their own parent, you know what I'm saying? And still probably going through the trauma of it all, growing up with that stigma or that cloud over them. So definitely, that she was a pure evil person for putting not only just him but three other people's lives through that trauma. So that's unspeakable. That's really unspeakable. I can't imagine that. But I do know that there are some women as well as men who are using children as pawns to get at each other.
Yeah.
But the kids are getting, they're in the crossfire. They're the ones that's getting most of the damage and most of the hits. So that behavior that needs to stop. That needs to stop. It's destroying lives. It's destroying lives.
Well, it definitely is. Well, I just want to bring that up. I know that was a tough one to deal with, but I think those are conversations that we need to have.
Yeah, we do.
Because we have children, we have matter of fact, Brother Cedric says, "Lord have mercy, I have a son at Fort Valley State and one at Florida A&M." Absolutely, brother. I'm
Well,
telling
you know
you.
what? Your brother Matt can hook you up with 2 NDAs. I'm pretty sure he can,
I'm telling you.
FedEx it on to him.
Absolutely. They can actually set it up. Listen, you can get an NDA with the new barcode scanner with the phone tap. There's ways you can get this thing. You get that consent, get that thing in writing, because I'm telling you, we have we are running around playing Russian roulette the way that we're gallivanting with women in private and not understanding that all it takes is for you to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or make the wrong move, and you can be painted as a monster.
And women, this NDA thing is all new to me, but if this is the world that we have to live in, I wouldn't be a bad idea for you to do your research on it as well, because now we have women who are becoming millionaires, women who are girl bosses, and you have a lot of assets to protect yourself. So, if you're not going to govern yourself and be very strategic about the moves you make out here, make sure you add that into your bag of resources.
That's so true. Well, do we have anything else to add? I was trying to see if we had any other comments.
Is our brother Black just on audio? What happened?
Yeah, I think he done let us have a conversation. I'm sure he's somewhere nearby. Where you at, Black? Where you at, bro? We about to get ready to wrap this thing up. Get
Yeah.
ready to take this thing to the house. I want to say thank you to everybody who's logged on tonight. Tonight was a heavy conversation, but I think it's something that we need to move forward. We need to make sure that we, arm our children with the right information, especially those that are out in the public, in colleges and things like that, in the military. They need to know this stuff. Brother Cedric says, true, the girls on college campuses are different from girls in high school. You got that right. Totally different. Totally different. But that's a conversation we're going to have on the men's channel on the Lions Den. I know that's something that, we can't really go in on the sisters tonight because, that's going to be a lot to handle.
Y'all do
But,
that in private. See?
yeah, we're going to have to do that in private. Yeah, but yeah, make sure you stay tuned for that, for the Lions Den, where we can get into that. And maybe that's something we need to bring up about the differences of the women we encounter from high school to college to young adulthood and then beyond. I think that's a good conversation for us men to have.
Cedric just dropped the topic in the chat. Did you see that?
Yeah, let's look and discuss domestic violence in the near future. Absolutely, that's another thing, and I'm telling you, brother Cedric, once we dive into this, you're going to be surprised at the statistics that we find. You're going to be surprised at the data that we find. There's a whole lot of data out there that actually speaks different than the narrative that's being spewed over us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the domestic violence actually happens from the other side, but a lot of the times we don't really get it until we get to the point where it gets to that situation where now we got to bring it to the limelight. So I think it'd be a great conversation for us to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that Brother Cedric deals with a lot of that in his job. He could tell you a lot of what he deals with. I mean, it's out there. It's out there. And if we think for 1 second that most perpetrators in domestic violence are men, that's proof we don't know what we're talking about. But I think it's a good conversation. I think we do need to have it. So that may be a good one for us to log on to and delve into a little bit. So I think from both sides, as having a group conversation and also just a conversation with the brothers about that. I think that'll be good. So thank you, Brother Cedric. That'd be a good idea for us to move forward. But we're getting ready to wrap it up. Brother Black is still out taking care of some things. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to close this situation out. And so matter of fact, let me do it. Let me do it another way because I got to make sure I can add some music or something. So let's see. I got to find some kind of music to play.
Yeah. Well, today is the opposite day, National Opposite Day. January the 25th is. So, if you have a bad attitude and you've been, moping around, you need to do the opposite of that today. And spread some sunshine and make sure that you spread positivity. If you have not been, today is a good day to start.
It definitely is. Definitely is. I can't find no. I don't know what that is. I'm tired of these people sending me some stuff here. All right, so I got something I can play on here. We'll find something to play as we get ready to get up out of here on this evening. But I'm just going to leave you with a short saying. And it says, if you aren't willing to work for it, don't complain about not having it. If you aren't willing to work for it, don't complain about not having it. I've had this conversation over and over again with, especially with my children, especially with people who I encounter. And I've always been told as a young man that if there's something that you want, anything worth having is worth working for.
Yes.
Anything worth having is worth striving for, worth losing sleep for, worth having some sweat coming off your brow, rolling your sleeves up. If you really want it, you got to be able to work to go get it. And so if you aren't willing to work for it, work. You mean really work? Yes, I mean really work. This year I'm challenging everybody on here that this year you're going to embrace the idea of work. It's not a bad word. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to take you out. Work is what you need to get the things that you desire. I'm always reminded of what the ant does. The Bible even tells us, consider the ways of the ant, how they store away, even in the summer seasons. How what is he trying to say? He's saying of their circumstance, ants understand the value of work. So I want to tell you this week, this month, and this year that your mantra for the rest of this year is, I'm going to work for it. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to study. I'm going to pray. I'm going to do my exercises. I'm going to plan. I'm going to prepare. And then I'm going to put my hands to the plow and I'm going to do the work. No more excuses. I'm going to get up and go to the gym. No more excuses. I'm going to set my alarm to get up early so I can start journaling. No more excuses. I'm going to write this business plan before the month is over, because I've decided this year that work is going to be my mantra to get what it is that I need. If you're not willing to work for it, you're not ready to have it. Until next time, I love you all. I thank you so much for being with us. We'll see y'all soon. Until then, remember, peace, love, and light should always be the mantra of God's people. Talk to y'all soon. Later. We out.